I welcome you to this particular session. This is the first session that we are having in this particular in this particular regime of your prep. Now, most of you are preparing for the UPSC examination. You might have or might not have seen the examination yesterday. It was relatively an easier exam. I mean, both the papers, and a lot of which could be solved through common sense as well as current affairs. Now, the idea for D3, since most of you, some of you are there who are new, but some of you are there who have been attending these sessions. The idea is to enforce a morning program into your entire regime and see that how it changes your life. Now, one of the first things that as an IAS aspirant or a civils aspirant or any competitive exam aspirant is that time management. And time management is not just within the exam; it's also in your life. Now, one of the best ways to manage your time, especially, you will have so many things to do. And why is there so much of pressure? Because see, the job that you are aspiring for is also a very pressure oriented job. उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर्स हैं, बहुत तरीक़ों के प्रेशर्स आएंगे, पॉलिटिशियन का प्रेशर है, पब्लिक का प्रेशर है, एंड देयरफॉर what the examination also tries to test is that will you wilt under this pressure. And this is where I was not great as an aspirant. Now this is my kind of contribution where I kind of force the candidates to be good at their time management. The best way to manage time is to wake up early, have to have a very good start to your mornings. Now, the way that this program has been developed is that in the first part of our routine, what we do is we meditate for 5 to 7 minutes. We just close our eyes and just think about nothing in the world except for your own breath. So that gives you a sense of calmness in life, and that stillness that we need, because every day, every morning, every day you have your mobile buzzing, you have things to worry about, you have career issues, there are 10 types of things where your mind is preoccupied by multiple things in life. So the idea is to instill that kind of discipline, that kind of focus, which we call as deep focus. If some of you have iWatches, and iWatch, there is this feature called as mindfulness. So that is something that you can try. So for 1 minute, for 2 minutes, and every time when you are not relaxed, you can maybe shut off everything and then focus on that mindfulness. So in fact, there is another device by Ultrahuman. Again, I would not expect you to buy, but there's a ring called Ultrahuman which also gives you an analysis into your sleep, into your mindfulness. So these are metrics that you can actually track these days. So after meditation session, I will also give you certain quotations and certain aspects, not every day, but as and when I can, certain life experiences which could be helpful, certain anecdotes. These are not just for your examination, these are for your personal grooming, but also can be used in your examination, whether it's your ethics paper or your essay paper. In general, I would like you to create a Word doc for your quotations and these anecdotes, because this is something that will take you far when it comes to your essay as well as ethics as well as your GS answers. So I often tell students that 40% of your prep is reading the material, or creating that material from which you will create your answers. 40% is PYQs and 20% is the value addition, the X factor that you bring to your answer. And usually these current affairs and these quotations that you're going to learn are going to be the X factor. And something that you can try to bring to your prep is that for each particular topic that is there in GS, you should have 2 to 3 quotations that should be ready. And that process will not happen overnight. If you see, from now onwards we have around 365 days, but effectively it's only 9 months, because the last 3 months you will be primarily focusing towards prelims. So you have good 9 months to prepare for, which gives us a kind of a window of over 250 days. So you can work in these 250 days on some certain quotations of each particular topic, and then try to learn it during your mains as well. I mean, you can learn it now and you can revise them during your mains. That will bring that X factor. So my endeavor will be to give you those quotations. Then comes the journaling part. Now some of you have given the journal. I think some of you, the journal is still with me. Jasnoor and Dia, your journals are still with me. So this is basically a journal. I'll send you this journal. This journal is basically a diary. Now where you need to, it's a dated diary where you need to maintain, and we will ask you to maintain this in your class, about your daily activities. Now for example, what needs to be done. So whatever you plan in your entire day, suppose you're planning that I have 10 hours of or 11 hours of work. You can't stretch more than that, folks. Be very realistic. So 10 to 11 hours if I'm doing, and if I have a 4-hour class which gives me a window of 7 hours, what is that I'm going to achieve in those 7 hours? And you're not going to write I'm going to study polity or history, or I'm just going to study for CUET. You need to mention the exact topic that you're going to cover. Initially you will see a huge lag between what you had written and what you were able to achieve, but then the process of adjustment, just like since most of you are from economics, that Don Bush model that we have, with lags you kind of adjust. So that kinds of hysteresis effect you will have in your journal as well, where you will see that okay, I was probably planning too much for myself. And you will also write in that what kind of physical activity that you have done in your entire day. Now I'm not going to keep a track of that, but again, this is for your own self. I can help you so far, but again, I can't take you from your home and take you to a gym, or to take you to a cycle and then make you cycle or swim or play badminton. Now this is an ignored part of the UPSC prep or any competitive prep. See, competitive prep is not just about studying; it's also about your mental health. And if you're only studying, you're not relaxing your brain. So that barometer of pressure that is being built in your brain needs to come down, and the best way to do it is through physical exercise. Now for me, it's hardcore strength training that I do. For someone else it could be something else. It need not be a gym. It could be say tennis, it could be say volleyball, it could be just running, cycling, but some kind of physical activity is a must. So 40 minutes, even I don't care if you study less, but if you compromise on this, then your ability, so this is, think of it as investing in physical capital. You're not going to get overnight returns, but the returns will be huge. The returns, and think of it as a capital investment, the returns will be huge after a point of time. So most of you understand economics. I mean, if you do revenue expenditure, you will get immediate gratification, but if you do capital expenditure, the gratification will come only in long run. So something like that is physical education, or physical exercises. It will give you transformation over some time. And again, the other part is that of your mental health also comes from your diets. So what kind of food that you are going to have. In fact, I mean, I train a lot of people, not just I mean, most of you know that I train at Lavasna as well, but a lot of these officers, especially in the police services, come back to me for how to train themselves physically, because during this phase of preparation, and even at the academy, they are very well fed, and that exercise regime is not that great, and they need to be in great shape when it comes to especially the services like the police services. So I tell them that 80% of your entire I mean transformation is on your diet, and only 20% is basically what you do in the gym or in the outdoor exercise. So and I'll send you a couple of links, a couple of interesting YouTube lectures which talk about that, how your gut also helps your brain. So at times you might have heard about this phrase called as gut feeling. Now, what do we mean by this gut feeling? Gut feel basically means that whatever you're going to consume is going to give you a signal to your brain. So consume well. Have 5 liters of water. I'll send you a sample diet chart as well. You can modify it according to your own needs. But have good amount of protein, good amount of fat, limited amount of carbs, and the most important, limited amount of sugar. So whenever you are reading, whenever you're eating something, just see the label on the back and see whether your body actually needs it or not. So that kind of regimen, you'll see that transformation in your mind, that if you're not giving these sugar spikes to yourself, it's going to help you a lot in terms of your memory as well, in terms of your discipline as well. So all of that gets added to that physical capital that I was talking about. So mental health, physical health are very important components for what you are planning to do over the next 1 year. Now, a couple of you have also written prelims this year, and we've talked about all of these every day. Now, the last thing of our session will be talking about current affairs. Now, again, current affairs, there are two approaches, there are two school of thoughts. One school of thought says that we should not read current affairs at all. There are beautiful magazines that have been developed by these enormous coaching institutions. Some of you might have seen these Vision IAS, PT 365, or the Gist by Vajiram and Ravi, and every coaching comes up with these kind of notes of notes and this monthly booklets. Now, I do acknowledge that there is a lot of benefit out of these magazines. It helps you cut down on making notes, it helps you in revision, but that should not be a primary source of revision and primary source of reading current affairs, because you're not going to see the way in which the things have developed. You're going to, for example, in this month, on the next month's news, you will have a lot of discussion about NEET. But if you've read 10 articles on NEET, you have a proper idea that how the entire debate went on. You heard multiple authors speak on that particular issue. So you have developed something in terms of intellectual capacity for that particular topic, and then you can use it not just in a particular paper. Don't segment that current affairs can only be used in this particular paper, in that particular paper. It can be used in general, it can be used in your essay, it can be used in your ethics, it can be used in your answers while answering interview questions. So you have to be very careful in that sense, that current affairs needs to be done. In terms of magazines, yes, you can pick up these monthly magazines. If you want to pick up something else, I've also attached The Economist on the Google Classroom, so you can see, go through The Economist. I don't think anything else more than that, because time will not permit you that. You should go with, and the daily current affairs. I think that should be sufficient, and maybe you can use GPTs for enhancement of your prep. Now, in subsequent classes, I'll also show you how to use the GPTs, how to use AI to your own advantage, and how you can prepare succinct notes for that. In fact, you can create UPSC style questions from that. You can answer and ask more questions with respect to a topic. And if you're not able to understand a particular topic, for example, if I am teaching you something about GSLV, now GSLV is a launch vehicle that India has for space programs. Now, I'm sure for first timers, you have no clue about what a GSLV is. But that doesn't mean that you have to rely on me for that. You have wonderful GPTs. You can just ask the GPT what GSLV is, what are its capabilities, where it was used, what was its evolution. All of that you can ask. So one thing about UPSC is that you should have an inquisitive mind. Studying not from the point of view just because you're sitting for this exam, we also try to see whether you have an inquisitive mind, and an inquisitive mind goes beyond these obvious layers and then tries to find out things which are not mentioned anywhere. So have that kind of mind, but there is a rider to it. Current affairs is a wonder hole in itself. Now, if I give you one newspaper, I can give you 10 hours and you can do an entire research for 10 hours on that newspaper. just keep on finding new things with respect to that. Now I say this quite emphatically, that newspapers are like a drug. Why they are like a drug? Because they can make you lose time like crazy. So therefore you need to have a timer while you are reading the newspaper. You're going to study the newspaper for 30 minutes with me, and then apart from that, maybe 30 minutes more or 40 minutes more, initially maybe 45 minutes. But anything more than that is a wastage of time, because you're dealing with something which is uncertain. You really do not know whether a question or need will come or not, but you definitely know in your optionals what topic will come. For example, we know that there will be questions in macroeconomics on Keynesian and classicals. You already know that there will be a question in PSIR with respect to a particular theory. So it's better to invest time in those things which are controllable, which are endogenous in economic terms, and do not waste too much of time which are things which are exogenous, which you do not have any control on. So prioritizing your time is going to be very important, and it's your time which is going to be the key resource that you're going to have over the next 12 months. It's not going to be money. Don't think in terms of money. You're going to earn a lot of money when you're working. Even if you're not going to work in the civil services, you're going to earn incredible amount of money if you get into the coaching industry. So money should not be a concern for you, and time as a resource should be the biggest constraint that you should allocate well. So not more than say 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes on newspaper per day. Keep a hard stop at that. Even if there is something important that you feel is there, just stop. And one way to cover that is that read the editorials first, the economy page second, and the explain page third. If you've read these three pages, your work is more or less complete. Anything else, it will be it will be transactional, and it will come daily. So we need to have a focus and a deep dive into opinions and information, current information, rather than transactional knowledge. So with this if you have any doubts, I'll be happy to take them, and if not, I will walk you through the Google Classroom where every information will be provided. Now let me share my screen, folks. I'll just minimize my my video now. All right, so this is yesterday's or day before's paper. Now if you see, this is the classroom that has been assigned to you. Now in this classroom, the way to work around is you go to classwork. In classwork, what you will get is your newspaper. So if you need a soft copy, I would recommend you to have a hard copy of Indian Express. If you're well versed with soft copy, then that is also good. You will get the newspapers here. For example, I've already updated the 15th and the 16th, and someone from the team will upload the newspapers every day. Apart from that, I will also give you certain Telegram links where you can easily get the newspapers and magazines. Then the Economist is basically here. You can see the Economist, the latest Economist, and then you have something in morning motivation. Now let's go through the morning motivation. Now what I'll do here is that I will give you a quotation which can be used anywhere, and then I will also give you certain. This is kind of this thing. A kind of an abstract from a post from Roger Federer, which kind of draws the point of UPSC as well. Now I will also show you. In fact, this was a very interesting discussion that I had with. Yeah, so I was having this discussion with the same discussion. So one of my mentors is, if you can see the chat, is Ravindran sir. He's the owner of Vajiram and Ravi. So I basically shared, at times I share these things with him. So he also was talking about the same thing, that this speech is extremely this speech is also very crucial for any UPSC aspirant. So it's not just me who feels the same. So I was sharing with Ravindran sir, and he also said that we can also understand the force of the speech thanks to the CSE coaching that we are involved in. So So what is this entire thing? What is this entire speech? Let's talk about that morning motivation. Now, see, first of all, we have a quote that each morning we are born again. So whatever has happened has happened. What matters is that what do we make of today? So don't have that strategy of past baggage. I often give the example of Virender Sehwag. If you have ever witnessed his batting style, that he doesn't actually care whether he has missed the previous ball or not. So and similarly, this grade of tennis, Roger Federer gave a speech recently, and he said that's only a point, and he says that he's played 1526 matches, and out of that he has won 80% of those matches. But what matters more is that is the number of points that each tennis match is based on points. Now he's only won 54% of points, and at 54% of points he's become a legend, and he's won 80% of the matches. And if you see UPSC exam, don't you think it's very similar? If you get a 55% on UPSC, in fact you're going to be very close to rank 1 if you get 55% marks. So what matters is consistency here. It is, I mean, what I don't like is that some aspirants are really good in certain parts of their preparation. In the first few days you will be going crazy studying 13-14 hours, and when it matters you'll crash, and you will crash down at say 2-3 hours. So similarly, people in this particular group, there are 2 of you who have written prelims this year. Now both of them have asked, in fact 3 of them had asked me, sir, हमें break लेना चाहिए कि नहीं लेना चाहिए. I told them at least 2 current affairs, and do not take a break for more than 1 day, because what happens is that that break gets extended. What we want from you for the next 90 days, and the mains is in the next 90 days, is consistency. So that consistency goes that you've been building. So this is the time which you have the last of the 400 meter hurdle, of the 400 meter relay race. This is the last 100 meters. You cannot falter on that. And this is what Roger Federer also says, that what is important is that when you are playing a point, the most important thing in the world is that what is behind you is behind you. You have to focus on the next point with intensity, clarity, and focus. So therefore there are going to be very ups and downs, but what is important is, for becoming a champion, is that win that point, think about that point, and only think about that point and not about the past. So this is an anecdote I wanted to share with you, and you can use this particular quotation in general as well. And then you have quotes that I've given you. For the quote, one of my favorite quotes from Fiscal Federalism, and you can use them whenever you are writing an answer on fiscal federalism, state center finances, anything on that. This is my favorite quote. From John, attributed to John Maynard Keynes. Everyone is in favor of fiscal devolution until it affects their own funding. So basically means everyone wants that funds should come from top to bottom, but no one wants at that particular position, at a higher position, that funds should go to the lower level. So this is a very very crisp, and in fact this is also why I remember this quote, because I think in 2018 or 2019 economic survey, there was a chapter where the heading was this, everyone is in favor of fiscal devolution until it affects its own funding. So this is regarding your quotation. So you can pick up, if you see the classroom, you can just toggle between all of these topics: newspaper, economist, morning motivation, and quotes. And on the stream you can get the meeting links. Now I'm also going to open a window for your discussion, just in case if you want any discussion, there will be a window there. So this is how our entire program will run. If you have any questions, you can ask. The class starts at 5 a.m. and we will end it at a hard stop at 6 a.m. in general. For students who are regular with me, know that I have a very naughty son. So and these days it's school holidays, so he'll not be up, but usually during school time he is up by 6:15, so I cannot delay it by after that. So the classes will run from Monday to Friday. There will be exceptions once a week at times where I might not be able to cover up the class. So effectively it might run into 4 days a week. But since these are vacations, I can easily do 5 days a week. Now comes your writing part, folks. Today we're not going to go for meditation because we have a newspaper to cover, but what we should definitely start is the journal. Pick up any particular diary. I will send you your personalized diaries as well, but pick up any particular diary, and it should be a dated one. And what you can write down is, as I told you, first thing is your targets for the day. Second thing is whatever you're going to work out, and there's an element that I missed, which is a gratitude towards life. So whatever you are thankful for in life, from God, you can write down, and things that are stressing you out, you can also write those things. So these are the 4 elements in your journal. People who have the journal can write it down. People who do not have the journal can wait for 2-3 minutes, and then we will go on to our current affairs. All right. Now, to give you an example, what I have written is that since the classes for optional are going to start, I need to prepare a prerequisite that students need to do. For example, what kind of mathematical microeconomics you need to have to do well in the course. So that prerequisite I'm creating. So all of that, those chapters needs to be created. Then I have some personal work with respect to bank, with respect to the website. So all of that I've written. Then my gym routine that I'm going to follow for my day. And then it was Father's Day yesterday, and we celebrated that. So thankful for the Almighty for all of these things, and the blessings that have been there. And then one of the major issues that I'm facing right now in my life is renovation at home, so which takes away my sleep at times. So something like that you can develop on your own as well. So this is something that I expect you to basically do when you are writing your this thing, daily current affairs. Now let's come to the newspaper of the day. Now the Sunday's newspaper, folks, is usually the one where you don't have a lot of meat, but still it's a very good newspaper, the Indian Express. Because of paucity of time, we usually are not able to cover the Sunday's newspaper, but still I will try in future that if I can do it. But I can't promise you that. What we will do is, we will again, as I said, we will go to the meat of the paper first, and then we will go to the unsubstantiated other portions. For example, this is a very important article, launch of Digital Agriculture Mission as a part of 100-day program. So these are important. Yes, what is the Digital Agriculture Mission? All of these details are important, but because once it is launched, it will also come in the in the editorials. So let's go through the newspaper of the day, folks. Now again, if you want a summary of this any particular article, what you can do is you can copy, you can take a snap of this particular article, give it to the GPT, and ask it to summarize it for you. If you want the background of that, it can give you a background of that. If you want it to give you a summary of that, it can give you a summary of that. So as I told you, be a smart aspirant. Do not be a aspirant of the 20th century or even the first 2 decades of the 20th century. There is an aspirant before the GPT era, and there is an aspirant after the GPT era. So be the smart aspirant. Save your time if you have issues with time, and at times it's always better to give it to the GPT, get the insights, and then read the article. But reading the article is very important because it gives you that clarity of thought. It also gives you how to construct these sentences, and over time you will see that your language will improve. If you see the chat of with Ravindran sir, see the kind of English that he uses. Of course he's very well educated, but also because of the fact that for the last 40 years he's been reading the Hindu, and that is where that flair in your language comes. That's often a question that has been posted to me, that how to get that flair in while expressing. You keep on reading, you will get the sense of that writing flair. So let's move to the editorials first. I have the physical copy with me as well. So if you see the first first this thing article, and see how well they have crafted the heading. Now when you are writing essays, your essays can be in three or four parts, where you can give a heading to each particular part, and such a beautiful and kind of an kind of a reflection of how neat is, an untidy neat. So these kinds of catchy phrases, this kind of witty nature is very well appreciated by examiners as well. Why? And especially as an examiner, I definitely appreciate, because you are under tremendous pressure when you're writing mains, and at that point of time, if you can come up with something witty, that shows. And it is often acknowledged that humor is the highest form of intelligence. It's not just me who says that; it's a lot of people who say that humor is the highest form of intelligence. And if you can make the examiner chuckle a little, not I'm not asking you to write jokes, but have a witty statement, that will take you, that will that will put you above that bar that he has set for every candidate. So if you see untidy neat, what this article talks about, and by the way folks, this is going to be in bilingual, this is going to be English as well. Right now I'm only talking in English, but usually when I'm talking, I'm also teaching in Hindi as well. I hope no one has an issue with grasping Hindi per se. If you have, please message me with respect to that. Now, what is this article talking about? So you must have heard about in news channels that there is this NEET examination, and then there was this quote, some petitioners has taken the NTA, which conducts NEET, to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had asked NEET not to reverse the grace marks that have been given to 1500 candidates. But the entire issue comes from the fact that the National Testing Authority, which was set up in 2017 to conduct these national level examinations, this entire body has been not forthcoming with respect to how it has given marks. It has not given explanations, adequate explanations. So a lot has been, I remember there's a book by this thing, and in fact there's a post on LinkedIn by this particular gentleman, Anil Swarup, who was also the Secretary of Education, and he has 2-3 wonderful books. In fact, one of these books you have to read for your ethics, Ethical Dilemmas of a Public or of a Civil Servant. So read that book in general for ethics, but also he also talks about his stint at when he was the Secretary of Higher Education, and he said that there was a allegation of CBSE paper leak, and then the CBSE chairperson was under attack, and then he held a conference where he allayed all the concerns that were there. So similarly, the NTA, whenever there are issues like this, you should come out in clarity that see why these marks were given, what was the entire issue, in how many centers this issue was there. Then we are also receiving news from Bihar that certain centers were sold. How did so many candidates get 720 out of 720? All these explanations needs to be given, because they are public authorities, they are answerable to public in general. So this is and especially with respect to this particular paper, where we have 24 lakh students giving this exam for only 1 lakh seats, which gives us a ratio of 0.25. So for such a huge shortfall of medical seats, a crisis like this does not good for a national testing authority. And this is not just with NEET, it is with a lot of other examinations like CUET, where I personally know that in certain states entire centers are sold, where each particular seat in a center is sold for amount, and then you are given answer sheets in advance. Or you're in the last 15 minutes of your paper, your mouse will stop working, and someone from remote login will enter into your system and then mark all the answers. So this is something which is plaguing the NTA for quite some time. It's not something new. Some of us already know this. Then Vadodara home test. Now what has happened is that in Gujarat, and this is also a negative example that you can give, where people are being discriminated on the basis of their religion, which goes against Article 14 and Article 15, where the state cannot discriminate against any citizen on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Now, for those of you who are not aware of Article 14 and Article 15, don't worry. You will with time you will study polity, you will study fundamental rights, and you will study all of that, equality before law. All these articles you will read, but for now, just know that there is a Constitution of India. There are certain articles in the fundamental rights, Article 15 and 16, 14 and 15, which talks about the right to equality. This entire section talks about right to equality. So I mean the state cannot arbitrarily basically target any particular religion, or discriminate any particular religion, race, or gender. Now, what has happened in VHC is that in this low income housing, Muslim women was given a house, and the rest of the entire community was against this. So we can call this as tyranny of the majority as well. And unfortunately, in Gujarat, there is spatial segregation on the basis of religion and community, which started in 1986 with the Disturbed Areas Ordinance, which was given a form of an act in 1991. And it is the district collector where property deals which are prone to violence and disturbances are approved by district collector. So basically, the district collector can say that no, a Muslim person cannot own a shop or a particular house in a particular society. So which goes against the right of equality for every citizen without fear, favor, and prejudice. So this is a very good article for maybe you can as a negative example, you can take this maybe in governance, also maybe in ethics or essay. So just remember, just keep a note of that. Then what next? Now, Pratap Bhanu Mehta is someone who writes. Usually you will see some kind of criticalness when it comes to Pratap Bhanu Mehta's articles for the government. So what this article in general says is that that the Indian voter is extremely greedy. Now the Indian voter, now everyone was expecting that the BJP will win around, and all the pollsters had an average of 340 seats for BJP, but it could only do around 240. Now the kind of analysis that has been done by Pratap Bhanu Mehta here is that the Indian voter is extremely greedy. Now, even if you deliver something, for example, what were the deliverance promises of BJP in the recent election? It was Hindutva. Under Hindutva, you said that Article 370 abrogation. You said the Ram Mandir issue, and some amount of mandal politics also was involved here. Now, and what Pratap Bhanu Mehta says is that this charismatic leadership, or even mission mode interventions like say Har Ghar Jal, these are all mission modes. Or say electricity to every household, or Sobhagya scheme for electricity, or say Indra Dhanush. So there are multiple schemes which works on, and the number of Pradhan Mantri centric schemes that are there. And every year, folks, you should be aware of each and every Pradhan Mantri scheme. Why? Because this year itself there were 2 questions, if I am not wrong. I think there were 2 questions. Jasnoor, there were 2 questions on Pradhan Mantri schemes, right? I think there were 2 questions. So 2 or 3 questions. So every year you will see these 2-3 questions on Pradhan Mantri schemes. So you do those schemes, you should be in and out clear. So there are a lot of these mission mode schemes. Now, what a mission mode scheme is that they have an actual target to meet. For example, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. It has a target of say 2 crore houses. But what the voter is actually asking the government is, once you have done these 2 crore houses, after that what are we getting? So the Indian customer and even the Indian electorate, both of them are very hard to satisfy basically. So very greedy, they want everything in that particular price. So they want, what else are you offering us apart from these mission mode interventions, charismatic leadership? That will not cut the deal. We want something. What is coming next? And that is where the entire vote share was reduced, because they could not find something new in that. And what is needed, perhaps the second part, this part of the article is which I like a lot, is that it is easy to build toilets than to create sewage systems. So what they have done is they have run a lot of for example, Swachh Bharat mission. Now Swachh Bharat mission is building toilets, but building toilets is fine. Where are their the outlet of these toilets leading to? That is very important. Are they leading to a drain where they're now being recycled, they're being treated, the solid waste treatment is there or not, or are they just going into rivers? So that is something that is the hard part of the building toilets is the easy part. So what we have is, it's easy to build toilets than to create sewage systems, buy a whole bunch of electric vehicles, then doing things that are systematically required to for clean air, rely on MSP and cash transfers than to elevate rural distress. So we are just scratching the surface. We are just treating the symptoms right now rather than treating the cause of the problem, and which is basically, in economics we call them as structural reforms. We are not doing structural reforms. We are trying to put band-aids here and there. So that is something that is required. And even in law and order, the article says that Yogi Adityanath's approach of law and order is that mission mode of bulldozer, of encounters, but at the grassroots level, why the violence is coming, why there is so animosity, that needs to be solved as well. So structural transformation requires the slow boring of hard boards. So that Weber's phrase of slow moving bureaucracy works here as well, that you need to have new structures, and which the structure transformation takes time. So this is the entire article. It's a good article. It's a little political in nature, but still it can give you a perspective of things. So not from a political point of view I want you to read, but from an economic point of view and a point of view of society as well. The other article, Social Justice 3.0, is just a mouthpiece of the BJP, since it's written by the political spokesperson. So therefore, I also want you to see. Before reading the article, who has written the article. So I usually avoid articles by spokespersons of a particular party, because they tend to be very, very biased. Then forecasts of others. Now this basically article talks about that there have been several forecasts this year, and a lot of these forecasts have gone wrong, as we were talking about. And there are two basic problems in terms of forecasts. One of the problems is that you're going to take now people who have had statistics. In fact, I teach this thing in statistics as well while doing sampling, that there can be a huge sample error while doing these kinds of surveys. You might not include the actual the diversity of population, and also there can be people who can lie. So for example, in this survey, what we found out was, in a lot of these surveys, as in case with US as well, that a lot of people said that we are going to vote for Modi, we are going to vote for BJP, since they were afraid of repercussions if they don't say so. But when they entered the voting booth, they voted. They were hardcore voter for the opposition. So that is the first kind of identification problem. The other kind of problem that comes in these first past the post electoral system is that you don't need 50% of votes. You need the highest. You need just one vote extra from what your competitor is getting. So in fact an interesting example is the election of Faizabad. Now Faizabad, if you are not aware, is the constituency of Ayodhya. Now everyone was assuming that Ayodhya will be very, very easily won by the BJP, but what has happened this time is BJP got the almost same number of votes which it got last time in 2019, and won the election comfortably. But this time what had happened is that the Congress and the Samajwadi Party came together and fought together, and therefore, because of the first past the post principle, the addition of the kind of consolidation that happened at that particular seat edged the India alliance over the BJP share. So basically it's the first past the post principle that helped them win that particular seat rather than anything else. The seat contribution was the same, the percentage of people voting for BJP was the same, but the percentage of people who voted for BJP, for Congress plus for Samajwadi Party added together was able to surpass that of the BJP. So converting these vote shares into seats is a very hazardous task, and that is where a lot of people went wrong. And then it talks about I mean again an interesting quotation. Then you can read all of this, that that John Maynard Keynes had talked about that beauty. Judging beauty contests is where winner has the most number of votes, and that's how forecasting is also done. So trying to judge a judge trying to pick the winner would try to forecast the choices of other judges, and based on what other judges have done, he would also try to make the same judgment. So this is the article, you can read that. Then there is a very critical analysis of the NEP 2020 written by a professor from I think he teaches English at Ramjas College, and what he has written is that the NEP, what it has done, and since your juniors are from NEP, what it has done, it has introduced for your juniors, if you see in the first and the second semester, in third and fourth semester, they have seven courses, and which kind of dilutes the purpose of an honors course. When I was a student in KMC, I remember we had 4 courses and 1 elective. So we were only focusing on our core papers. These were core I'm an economics honor student. I need to study economics properly. So that is something that should be my focal point. But what has happened is there are too many things that have been created, which loses the emphasis on the core papers. And the other thing is that with the credit based system, what has happened is that the credits have reduced. The time allocation for most of you who have studied 5 lectures for each particular course, now there are only 3 lectures and 1 tute. So imagine teaching the syllabus of each particular course has also been reduced. So that continuity, then that depth that needs to be inculcated into a student has reduced, and that is where we have a problem. And just a second, folks. I hope my battery is working. Yes. And that is where there is a lot of problem, and what we have seen is that we are reimagining our entire education system as an American view, where education is seen as a means to survive in the marketplace, and it has a price attached to it, rather than an environment where one needs to engage and with a steady mind in an academic setting. So this is a critical article. You can read this article and see how a critique can be written, but probably you should not be too critical of anything in your newspaper, in your answers. Be very sure critical analysis is not blasting the government. So this kind of an analysis you cannot probably write. You can write issues that are going wrong, but do not be over critical of the government. Be a bureaucrat. Draw that line when you are writing answers. Then let's move to the other part. Exports jump 9% on year basis. Now every 15th of the month, what you will see is that the trade data comes. Now this trade data has talks about what is the current account. Now people who are not aware of this, you should be aware of how your this thing BOP, your BOP account looks like. Now the BOP account is further divided into a current account and a capital account. You should be aware of that, the elements that are there in the current account, the elements that are there in the capital account. So you should be aware of this. You should be aware of what current account deficit is, and there are certain if you see my channel, there are certain articles that I've explained. There are certain lectures on BOP. Maybe you can watch that if you are not aware of this. Some of you might have studied this in college as well. So what has happened, what the article says is that the monthly data has come up, and what we see is that there is an export jump of 9%, which shows a demand revival from the rest of the world. That's why your exports are increasing, but also your imports are increasing, and therefore your trade deficit, which is basically your balance of trade, visible your items, the balance of trade is at 7-month high. The other thing that you should generally be aware about is that this thing, your I'm forgetting your reserves. How much reserves? Somewhere they're in the line of somewhere around $600 billion. So you should also be aware about your reserves. The other article is your wholesale price index, shows a 15-month high of 2.61%. Now the CPI index is the one which we call as the headline inflation, but we also at times track the WPI, and what you should know is the weightage of WPI. So the WPI is divided into three parts. Let me just tell you these three parts. Just a second, folks. Where is this? Yeah. So you have primary articles, you have fuel and power, and you have manufactured. The weightage is around 22% to primary articles, 13% to fuel, and then 64% to manufacturing. This again you should know. You should also have a broad idea which items get how much weightage in WPI, and the base year is 2011-12. So basically this is a kind of a index that you are creating, a last year's price index that you are creating, and based on that you are getting the inflation number. But this is not the number that we actually usually track. We actually track the CPI more than the WPI, but you can still read this article and see how our inflation is seen. But monthly data we are not very concerned with. Overall, in general, we are concerned with WPI, what is happening to WPI and what is happening to the overall yearly WPI. Then the other thing is SEBI raises MCLR by 10 basis points. Now MCLR, first of all you should know that MCLR is now being phased out. It was marginal cost of funding based lending rate. Now this is being phased out, and now what we have is 70% of the loans that are given right now by the commercial banks are out of the external benchmark lending rates. So you should read what is EBLR, external benchmark lending rates, what is MCLR, because still 30% of the loans are on MCLR. And before that you had certain other measures. For example, there was something called as a base rate, and there was something called a prime lending rate. People who are from economics honors would know this, because you must have read this in your MFM this thing syllabus. And in any case, I will also be taking this particular topic when you are doing the economics optional, the entire timeline of prime lending rate to base rate, why base rate was introduced by Deepak Mohanty committee, then why MCLR was introduced in 2016, and how in 2019 MCLR was replaced by external benchmark lending rate, which improved the monetary transmission of the monetary policy. And then you have spice exports slipped 20% because of safety quality concerns. Now you might have heard about MDH and that the higher amount of pesticide levels, ethylene oxide, was found in Everest and MDH, and because of which not only Europe but also other countries around the world have banned on the shipment of these spices, and spices is something that we we have a huge share in. In fact, 12% of global spice exports come from India, and therefore this quality concern is a huge concern. This could be something that you could take up in ethics in terms of your essay as well, especially in ethics, and what needs to be done by Food Regulatory Authority FSSAI in order to address these issues. So these are topics that you need to cover. Then no outcome in bond. No outcome in bond. Now what has happened in Germany bond? Now there was this meeting that was there for new climate finance goal. Now let me give you a history of finance goals. Now what had happened was that there was a meeting of there's something called as UNF's triple C. Now what is this? This is basically a framework convention on climate change, and it started in early 90s, and now every year you have a meeting which is called as a conference of parties. The meeting this year that is going to be held is COP29, which will be in I think in Azerbaijan, Baku. And there are 2-3 important meetings that have happened that you should know. First is the Kyoto Protocol, which happened in 1997, that you should know what happened there. Then you should also know what happened in Copenhagen in 2009. Then what was this Bali agreement that was there, and then in 2015 the most famous agreement, the Paris agreement, that happened for climate change. Now because of climate change, what has happened is we have all acknowledged there are two kinds of countries, one which are responsible for climate change and one who are suffering for climate because of climate change. Now countries which are primarily responsible for climate change are advanced countries, because these are the ones which have utilized a lot of this climate space and burnt a lot of coal and diesel and petrol, and because of that the average temperature of the earth has increased, and whatever is happening is because of the history of this industrialization that has happened in these developed economies. Because of Kyoto Protocol, we divide these groups of countries into two annexures, Annexure 1 and Annexure 2. Now Annex 1 countries, there are 25 countries that are there, mostly developed countries, which have to take the responsibility for finance for developing countries as well. Now there was this agreement that happened in Copenhagen in 2009, which talked about that the developed countries together will give $100 billion per year from 2020 onwards for climate change to developing countries. Now what has happened is that since then till now, what we know is that the expenditure for climate change, and we know that climate change is real. We can see heat waves coming in Delhi, places like Delhi where temperatures have gone more than 50 degrees Celsius. So climate change is real. We can see, we can feel the differences that are there, and if we want to counter that, we need immediate finance for better technologies, for adoption. And there are two kinds of strategies: adoption strategy and mitigation strategy. Mitigation strategy will be something like we are from petrol vehicles, we are moving to electric vehicles. That's a mitigating strategy. But what is an adoption strategy is that we are creating seeds, genetically modified seeds of wheat, which can survive in this kind of heat as well. That is our adaptation strategy. So we are using mitigation and adaptation strategy, but all of that requires money. And since the developed countries have to give a lot of this, we need new goals for this finance, and for that we have this new collective quantified goal, that post 2025 how much money would be needed, and that runs not into billions of dollars, but actually trillions of dollars. In fact, India says that it needs more than $1 trillion per year after 2025 if it wants to achieve its target for net new for being neutral in terms of its carbon emissions. Now and then you have this Annex 1 and Annex 2 countries. Annex 2 countries are the ones, the 25 of them, which are European Economic Community, as well as these 25 countries which are responsible for finance. So Annex 2 countries of UNFCCC are the ones which are responsible for climate change, and therefore they need to finance for it. So this is the article, please read it, very important for climate change, the entire history of climate change. If you have never read about all of this, make sure you use the GPT for the entire analysis of this. Then the other news is Kaveli Prize. Now this is like a Nobel Prize, but it is given in 3 areas. One is for astrophysics, which is for giant recognition. Then largest recognition is science. Then the smallest recognition in science, which is neuroscience, and the most complex recognition in science, which is nanoscience. So it is given for a Norwegian American scientist, and also a philanthropist, and given in these particular three areas. And it is unlike this thing. Nobel is only awarded for achievements made during the previous preceding year, but I would still want you to check on this. I'm not very sure whether this is right. That Nobel is only Nobel Prize is only given for the previous preceding year, but Kavli Prize is recognized or restricted to recent work, meaning it is not restricted to recent work. It has a wider scope. Maybe you have done work 10 years before, so that is also included. And then you have these three areas, these three people who have been given these awards. Then the article on India and the world in Modi 3.0. Now it basically talks about what is going to be India's foreign policy with respect to multiple issues. Now whether you have PSI or optional or not, even for GS and for your interview, you should be aware of your major neighborhoods. So what kind of relationship? So you should have a ready, steady answer for countries like Pakistan, for Afghanistan, Myanmar, Maldives, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and not maybe Seychelles and Mauritius as well. But all these countries are neighborhood countries. We have a policy of neighborhood first. So you should be aware about all the approaches of the government of India, the flagship programs that we have for our neighborhood. For example, I told you neighborhood first. Then you should also be aware of they've not mentioned East Asia here, but you should also be aware of East Asia, and we have a look East policy and act East policy. Then you can read what kind of relationship we have with each of these governments. For example, in Pakistan we have said that terror and talks can't go together. Afghanistan, we have no diplomatic relationship after Taliban has taken over. Myanmar, there is a huge kind of a civil war that is going. We really do not know who will come on top, the junta government or the resistance of the people. Maldives has fallen completely into the hands of China, and in fact the president Mohammad Mizu came to power with a India Out campaign. Bangladesh, we have had very good relationships with Sheikh Hasina, but at the same point of time, the topic of infiltrators coming to West Bengal and to Assam is a major thorn in a relationship. Then Bhutan, again we have very strong relationship, but Bhutan is unfortunately caught between two giant neighbors. Nepal, again China has made a huge footprint in Nepali politics, and we need to play this card very well, because Nepal often plays that China card well with us. Then Sri Lanka, we have gotten to very good stead after the economic crisis in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka also realizing that the Chinese help was not that great. In fact, it was economic imperialism, so to say, or economic domination that it wants to do. China wants to do. Then Seychelles and Mauritius, we have some success in this particular island, Aga Liga Islands in Mauritius and Assumption Island in Seychelles. Then Western countries, we have had very good relationship with US. We've in the last few years we have signed a number of strategic deals with them, including ISET. Then apart from that, Germany, UK, we've signing FTAs with the West. But at the same point of time, there are issues like the issue of the security issue of India and Canada. And then in China, we say that first we need to disengage from the borders, and then we'll go to for any particular topic. Russia is a huge issue, because the entire West is against Russia, but we are a huge ally of Russia. We are a huge strategic partner, especially in terms of defense. And in terms of our oil needs, we have maintained our strategic autonomy. And then we have very high stakes in West Asia, where a number of people have our huge expats are there. And then we have built a lot of good relationship with West Asia over the last few years, including the IMEC, the I2U2 International North-South Transit Corridor, but the issue here is the Hamas-Israel issue. Then last article for the day, Odia pride, cultural nationalism, why Puri Gates was a priority. Now Puri has is a temple in Odisha, and this particular temple, Jagannath temple, is basically dedicated to Lord Jagannath, the incarnation of Vishnu, and his older brother Balbhadra and sister Subhadra. And it is one of the Char Dhams. You should be aware of what are the other three dhams. Then it has 4 gates. The Lion's Gate is open after COVID, but other gates were not open. Lion Gate is basically, and you can see the photographs of this on internet, is basically says that moksha will be achieved after Lion Gate. Then you have the Elephant Gate, which gives you money. The Horse Gate, which basically gives you gets the devotee rid of kama. And then the Tiger Gate, which is basically dharma. So these are things that are there on the 4 sides of the Jagannath temple. And then you have the Parikrama project, where this entire project was developed, and the 75-meter long heritage corridor was constructed this year. So this is about this particular article. Now, a couple of things that you can read by yourself. I'll just go through that. Defense, AI and Ukraine PM hold talks with Macron, Sunak, Meloni. But what is more important is, if you see, there is going to be an AI summit that is going to happen in France next year, which is going to be very important for you. Then United Nations Ocean Conference, you should be aware of what is this United Nations Ocean Conference that will be held in France next year. Then the other news is launch of 2800 digital agri mission. The release of the 17th installment of the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, where you give 3,000 or I think 6,000 rupees, or I think 2,000 rupees, and it is given in 3 tranches every year. So you can read about this, and how digitalization of the entire process, creation of a nationwide farmer registry, crop zone, intensive zone registry, georeferencing of villages map, all of that will be done in this particular area. And then you will have, every farmer will be given a unique ID, and just like your Aadhaar IDs. And then you can see how much of cropping has been done, and all these other digitalizations will be done. So you can read about this particular article as well. Now with this, folks, let me just stop this. Just a second, folks. Where is just a second. Stop sharing. Yes. Now, so folks, this was about our session for today. Now we are not going to have such an elaborate session every day, since we are going to be focused towards our goals, and our goals are meditation, journaling, and the newspaper. Now, if you want to reach out to me, now I will assign days and hours in which you can, because I will also be involved in a couple of other projects now from now onwards. So I will give you an amount of time which will be called as office hours. So you can reach out to me in those office hours, and I can take up your personal doubts, any other doubts that you have with respect to UPSC prep. And I will be putting up this video on YouTube as well, and I will be opening, since a lot of students want to see how D3 is, I am going to open the D3 for a couple of days for the entire community, for them to see whether it's something that they want, or it can help them. And then we will again make it a closed cohort, because again we can then achieve a higher amount of output if we have limited number of students. So with this, let's wind up the day, folks. All the best for the entire day, and give a good crack at your entire day. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.